Hey all, 2025 is shaping up to be a tough year financially. You can't afford to rely on just one source of income anymore. But what you don't need is another job. What you do need is a skill that pays you consistently. Come join me for a free webinar where I'll show you how to build a second stream of income in as little as 30 minutes per week. No fluff, no get rich quick promises, and you don't have to be Einstein to learn this. I'll teach you a strategy that works and you can start using today no matter how new you are to options trading and no matter how busy you are. Details are listed here and attached as well. Hope to see you all there. Hey, welcome. As we like to do every week, we like to take a look at the past week's market activity and then kind of bounce around the market and look for something to trade. So disregard these over here right now. I'll explain why I've got these on here in a second. But let's just look at the market itself. And of course, we all know in the last few weeks it has been a wild ride. Huge dip down, huge spike up, huge dip down, huge spike up. The world is a crazy place right now and nobody really knows anything. And volatility, if you go right here, you can see it's still pretty much at a high for 6 months. If you count this huge dip that took place, it's still as high as it's been roughly for the past 6 months. So when we look at the number, you can see it's 37. So it's 37 volatility. So if we go to the NASDAQ, again a similar picture, up, down, up, down. You can see this is at 38. And of course the Russell we know looks the same in the last few months, although it's way down compared to the other two, but essentially doing the same thing, up, down, up, down. And you can see this volatility is at 33. So what are we looking to trade? So this week what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a trade in the indices because it's still high volatility. When the market is really volatile like this, I prefer to stick with index ETFs because they are generally less volatile than individual stocks. Again, because it's a lump sum of stocks, right? This SPY is essentially 500 stocks lumped into one stock. NASDAQ, same thing. Russell, same thing. It's a bunch of stocks lumped together. Obviously, if you lump them together, it kind of smooths things out. And generally speaking, it's going to move less than potentially an individual stock. Let's say like an IBM or a Google or anything, right? So volatility is still high. I want to make a trade more in the indices. Which one am I going to trade? So here's what I'm doing here. What I'm doing is, this is my assumption. What I'm basically saying is, I feel like 500 is really about the low it's been in the last few weeks, even during this crazy time. I know it says 481 here, but again, that was like 1 or 2 days. It went really low. For the most part, it's been in this range for the last few weeks. So my assumption is it's going to stay in this range for the next few weeks. Remember, trying to make these trades around 45 days or so. So I'm just kind of putting the numbers in here because I want you to see how I set this up. So essentially I've made 500 my low, roughly, and 575 my high. That's purely my assumption based on this range, based on what I hope will happen in the future. So low 500, high 575. If I go to the Qs, I did the same kind of scenario. Disregarding this 1 or 2, these 2 or 3 days where it really went crazy. Essentially, it's been in this range for the last few weeks. My assumption is it stays here. 423 the low, 495 the high. And if we go to the Russell, same thing. I'm doing roughly 176 for the same reason, 209 at the high. So how am I going to trade this? Well, I'm going to use those numbers as my range. Now I'm leaving off the Qs, and I'll show you why. If I go to a trade page, I'm going to be trading at 54 days because this is the monthly expiration cycle. It's relatively close to 45 days and more liquid than the weeklies, generally speaking. And if I open up Qs, you'll see these weird numbers. That's because it was the dividends. They adjusted the strike prices. I don't want to mess with this because these strike prices are just not normal. So I'm just staying away from the Qs completely as far as this trade. So I'm going to put a trade in on the SPY, right, and the IWM. And I'm going to use this 54 days. And I've already set this up to save us all a lot of trouble. So I'm going to click on the SPY again. Remember, we're looking at a range 500 to 575. What I'm going to do here is I've already put this up. I've got both of them up here. So I'm just going to focus on this one first, on the SPY. Okay, and you can see what I've done is this was the range I wanted to kind of keep between. So when I put it together, I made 500 my low, but I was able to go out as high as 585 on this side and still keep the credit what I needed to be at. So my assumption is that I'm leaving a little bit more room to the upside if I can, assuming I can get wider than, intended. I think there's a better chance it goes up than down over the next 54 days. Purely my assumption, and that's how I'm setting it up. So I'm going $10 above what I thought was the high. 500 I'm happy with as the low. Now, these strike prices are $5 apart on the SPY. So this is a $5 wide iron condor. Remember, 33 cents is my minimum per $1 width. If you multiply that out, 165 or more, 33 cents times 5 is the minimum amount of credit I'm looking to collect on this trade. So this totally fits. I've got in my low, I've got more room on my high side, I've created a $5 wide iron condor, and I'm collecting at least 165 or more. All right, so let's go to IWM and do the same trick. Remember here I was at 176.209. So I did the same thing here, 176.209. That's the range I was happy with, and I'm trying to keep it between. In this case, IWM has dollar-wide strikes. So I made it $2 wide, iron condor, and I need to collect at least 66 cents or more to make this a valid trade. Remember, 33 cents times 2, $2 width, 66 cents as my minimum trade. So why did I put these both up here? It's because they're both essentially at the same spot. I've picked a range for both. They're both around the same volatility, still high, but you might want to risk more to make more. So because SPY has wider strikes, because they're $5 wide, if you want to risk roughly 320 bucks to make 180, that's what you would do here. If you're on the small side of things, you're hoping to keep these trades smaller. This is $2 wide, so you're essentially risking 75. You're looking to risk 125 to make 75 roughly. So that's the difference. Same exact trade, just one is bigger than the other. Whoa, went crazy there. Yeah, one's just bigger than the other. One's a $5 iron condor, one's a $2 iron condor. So that is our trade. Assuming everything stays the same, this is what we'll do for tomorrow in either the SPY or IWM, your choice.